Hello and welcome to Firefly episode overview number 9, Ariel. And here we go. Ariel is the 9th episode of the Firefly TV series and was first aired on Fox on November 15th, 2002. Hard up for cash, Serenity takes a job from Simon, which was to break into an Alliance hospital on a central world, Ariel, so that he can get a thorough diagnostic of River and the crew can loot the valuable stores of medicine. But River's pursuers are hot on their trail, and they receive some unexpected inside help. The episode opens as Serenity heads to Ariel, a central world of the Union of Allied Planets. Anara is due for her annual companion physical exam and license renewal. The crew chats in the common area about what they might do while there, but Mal enters to announce that no one is leaving the ship, in order to minimize their invisibility in this highly monitored bastion of the Alliance. When Jane makes some less than polite comments about Simon, River suddenly slashes Jane in the chest with a kitchen carving knife, and Jane responds by backhanding her. She casually defends her attack by saying Jane looks better in red, as Simon stitches Jane up in the infirmary and attempts to apologize for River's actions. The mercenary refuses to listen and demands the attending Mal that she and the doctor be left on Ariel, suggesting they might receive a reward for turning in the fugitive siblings. Mal quashes any talk of leaving people behind, but after Jane leaves, Mal tells Simon to keep River confined to a room at all times, only allowed out with Mal's personal permission, and warns him that he'll have to revisit their arrangement if she isn't kept under control. He then sympathetically notes that she's getting worse. Simon quietly acknowledges it. While the crew kills time playing horseshoes in the cargo hold, Jane and Wash bemoan the lack of work that they've had in recent stops. Simon approaches them with a job, one that would pay out 10 times over. He illustrates by showing them 3 bottles of medicine originally from his medkit, and how much these small amounts actually cost, from 20 credits to 200. His proposal, if they help him break into Ariel City's hospital so that he can use the 3D neural imager in the diagnostic ward to analyze River's condition, then he will show them how to raid the medical stores of the hospital for supplies that will net Serenity considerable wealth on the black market. Kaylee expresses an unease at the idea of stealing medicine from patients that will need them, but Zoe states that the Alliance resources will allow the government-run hospital to rapidly replace whatever they take within hours, which Simon affirms. Mal adds that the people on the rim could really use the medicine. Wash asks how Simon plans to break into a highly secure Alliance facility and get around the security. Around the mess hall, Simon explains that his plan has 2 phases. 1. Breach the perimeter using an official medical shuttle and fake EMT IDs, smuggling in the TAMs as deceased patients for the hospital morgue. And 2. Split up with Jane guarding while Simon diagnoses River, and Mal and Zoe stuffing the TAM's then empty coffins with the most valuable drugs they can lay their hands on in the medical vault. As Simon presents the plan details in voiceover, Simon is shown securing the identification cards and uniforms. Kaylee and Wash raid a local junkyard contracted by the hospital and find an ambulance shuttle in repairable condition. And Mal, Zoe, and Jane struggling ineptly to recite prepared medical statements for their rushed entrance into the emergency ward. By the time the fake medical technicians have their lines down, Wash and Kaylee have finished their work on the medical shuttle. Although River is terrified of another comatose trip, her brother calms her down with the promise of a diagnosis, which will help him dispel her nightmares, and then injects her and then himself with a drug designed to send their user into a death-like state. As Wash transports the team via shuttle on the way to the hospital, Mal voices concern about how Jane may handle himself with Simon after what occurred with River. Jane begrudgingly admits that the Simon's plan is good, and shrugs off revenge with a joke about giving the comatose Simon a tattoo. Once landed, Wash waits for the shuttle, while the other EMTs rush into emergency with their victims. But as they start their prepared spiel, the admitting nurse absently directs them to the morgue. Mal and Zoe recover quickly from the surprising ease of this hurdle, but Jane, unable to adapt as quickly, nearly ruins their smooth entry by spouting off his now irrelevant line anyways. In the morgue, Mal starts his revival process for River and Simon. then departs with Zoe for the medical vault. Unsupervised, Jane wanders off to make a call to an Alliance officer, who agrees to pay a previously arranged reward for the fugitives. Dressed in the uniform, Simon pushes River in a wheelchair towards a diagnostic ward with an EMT, Jane accompanying them. As they pass through the post-op ward, Jane insists that her brother help a man who she believes is being killed by his doctor. When a code blue sounds, Simon dashes over to the patient, quickly assessing the problem, revives the man with a defibrillator, and stabilizes him. Simon berates the doctor for improper treatment before returning to the task at hand. River beams at her brother, and Jane looks quite impressed himself. Meanwhile, Mal and Zoe, on their way to the supply room, are intercepted by a doctor who questions Mal. Although Mal remains polite, when the doctor starts into a tirade over what he feels is Mal's insubordination, Zoe slips behind the man to a wall-mounted defibrillator and incapacitates him with a jolt. One of the transport coffins is used to conceal the unconscious doctor en route to the medical vault. His presence proves to be a blessing, as they use his keycard to enter the vault when they discover that theirs are demagnetized. Laying him out on the floor inside the vault, Mal and Zoe rapidly collect everything they can find on Simon's prepared list, storing it in the coffins. In the diagnosis ward, Simon puts River under the 3D neuroimager and isolates her brain. During the scan, to his utter horror, he discovers that her brain has been surgically operated on several times. According to Simon, her amygdala had been stripped, disabling her ability to suppress her emotions. She feels everything. She can't not. He paraphrases, still shell-shocked by the new information. Jane, claiming a sudden change of plans, leads them away from the diagnostic ward to a rear entrance, where he and Simon argue. River shrieks and starts to babble in fear. The three are then stopped by federal marshals, who arrest and handcuff Jane. Jane thinks it's for show, but quickly learn that the Alliance officers plan to reward him not with cash, but with an arrest for aiding and abetting the fugitive siblings, keeping the reward money for himself. Mal and Zoe return to the shuttle with the pharmaceutical loot, but soon realize that Jane and the Tams are late. Kaylee discovers unusual Alliance radio chatter, which Zoe recognizes as code, suggesting that the second team had been captured. The two war veterans head back into the hospital to rescue their people, directed by Kaylee's analysis of the hospital floor plan. But then, Wash announces arriving reinforcements. As they are held in a security substation, Simon thanks Jane for his struggle with the feds, unaware that he had been sold out by his shipmate. River's babblings piques the feds, who soon move the captives into a holding area awaiting transfer to an unknown party. Handcuffed, Jane and Simon attack their escorts, managing respectively to kill one and knock the other unconscious. As they argue which way to go, River announces that it doesn't matter, they're here. Back in the substation, the two blue-gloved men arrive to take custody of the Tams. When the Alliance officers reveal that he and his men spoke with the fugitives, the agent takes out a mysterious sonic device. Within seconds, the feds are bleeding from every orifice and quickly collapse, dead. Unaffected by the device, the agents go to retrieve River for themselves. Several rooms away, Jane and the Tams hear screaming, and a terrified River runs in the direction opposite the security station. Not far behind them, the Blue Gloves encounter the two marshals Jane and Simon took down, using the sonic device on the living one. With the sounds of screaming still approaching them, Jane and Simon follow River's flight until they reach a locked door. As Jane fruitlessly tries to open it, the lock is blasted from the other side by Mal and Zoe. By the time the Blue Gloves arrive, the group had already left. Anara returns to Serenity to find everyone but Kaylee absent. The engineer gives her a whimsical, shocking summary of the events, just as the shuttle returns with all hands aboard. Simon raves about Jane's heroism during their escape. Mal tells Wash to leave the planet as soon as possible, and Jane stays to help unload the new cargo. But once everyone else has left the cargo hold, Mal suddenly bashes Jane unconscious with a wrench. Jane awakens to find himself in the hold airlock with a radio on the floor, and Mal holding another one on the side of the inner door, saying that they need to have a little chat. Mal cracks the outer door open to the quickly thinning atmosphere as the ship leaves Ariel. Mal states that Simon's plan was sound, and that there was no reason for them to have run into the trouble that they did, unless having no good reason to be around the back exit that Mal and Zoe had found them at. It was Jane himself that had called the feds. Jane fails to convince Mal of his innocence, and with the auto warning that space is 2 minutes away, confesses that he betrayed Simon and River. He tries to justify that it was not Mal himself that he had wronged, but Mal considers betrayal against any of his crew to be the same as betraying Mal, and as such, Jane has no place with them. Seeing that Jane cannot seem to comprehend that, Mal turns to leave. When Jane honestly asks Mal not to tell his shipmates about the truth of his betrayal, showing that he does at least care about the memories he'd leave behind with the others and having accepted his impending death, Mal finally relents and remotely closes the outer door. He warns Jane that if he decides to betray Mal again, at least to have the guts to do it to his face, and leaves Jane stuck in the airlock. In closing, Simon revisits River's room with a syringe, where she is coloring an illustration she had made. She asks sadly, is it time to go to sleep again? And as he prepares the injection, Simon takes her hand gently and responds hopefully, no, Mimi, it's time to wake up. Background information. When Wash and Kaylee are rummaging through the junkyard, Wash picks up a catalyzer, looks at it without interest before tossing it away. This is the key engine part that was the focus of the previous episode, Out of Gas. The caskets used to transport the characters and medical supplies to and from the emergency transport craft were 687XT Atlas 1800 cargo boxes made by Thruel. They have since been discontinued. The emergency transport craft was a repurposed, scaled-down prop of a MIL Mi-24 Soviet gunship. Hey, thank you for watching the history of Firefly. Special thanks to the Firefly fandom for all information you heard today.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.